Good evening. We're going to get started with a program. I want to welcome everybody to what is our 6th annual Atlanta Phi Kappa Theta Alumni Reception. So to our brothers and guests, a special welcome. And one of the things that makes this one of my favorite events of the year is each of you. And it's good to meet new friends, new brothers, and to see so many who have come year after year. And one of the special things about this event, frankly, as opposed to other events, even I think nationwide with the fraternity, is Atlanta is definitely a melting pot. We got a few natives of Georgia probably, but most of us were born somewhere else. And we have 15 different chapters, and we may have missed one represented, and that's pretty profound. And those include Washington State, Georgia Tech, the University of Georgia, Case Western Reserve, the University of Houston, the University of Cincinnati, Western Illinois University, the University of Florida, the University of Illinois, Eastern Illinois University, Merrimack College, Rensselaer Polytech Institute, San Diego State University, Purdue University, and Oregon State University. And that's pretty significant about the strength of brotherhood. And if we've missed any chapter, please share and we apologize. But 15 chapters here tonight, and that will be a record for this event. We've usually had 10 or 11 chapters represented, and again, it's really a significant sign. I want to just take a few minutes to recognize our staff. Rob Stalder, our executive director, which in the fraternity world is Rob Riggs. Good grief, I'm promoted. I'm looking right at him. Rob Riggs, and I thought we had half a glass of wine. Exactly. So Rob Riggs, who's our executive director, who in the fraternity world is our CEO, president and CEO, and with him are Isaiah, Donna, and Ben DeLost, who have put this event together and do so much. So we appreciate them very much for their leadership. And then we have several members of our Phi Kappa Theta Fraternity Board here. Foundation Board. Kevin Lampy, Ed Fulford, and Bill Bateman, and the gentleman I gave a new job to, Rob Stalder. Where's Rob? Who, with his proud red Georgia jacket. There, thank you. And we also have, and we'll let them raise their hands, and we're grateful. Semesters have just started in college and university, and we have 2 students from the University of Georgia and 2 from the chapter at Georgia Tech. So if you'd raise your hand, thank you so much for being here. And finally, I just want to share that this event is sponsored by the Phi Kappa Theta Foundation, and many of you are donors to the foundation, for which we're very grateful. We hope all of you will be future donors to the foundation, and you can look at the back table on those 4 students, and that is the sole reason we exist. We invest in leadership development programs for our collegiate brothers, and many of those programs are servant leadership programs and values-based. We have an exciting new initiative that Cardinal Wuerl in Washington has started, a fund for spiritual emphasis. So the roots of the fraternity are still strong, and the focus on those things that last a lifetime are very important. So when you give to the foundation, you're investing in very significant programs, and we're very grateful to each of you for being here tonight, for those donors who have given, and we invite all of you to continue to give and to give so that we can create more servant leaders, and the world certainly needs more, right? So now we're going to have Brother Kevin Lampy, who chairs our awards committee, introduce the award itself, and then he'll call on Brother Rick Majori, who's a former member of our National Fraternity Board and longtime advisor to the Delta Rho chapter, who will have the honor and privilege of introducing one of my heroes growing up, and that's Coach Dooley. Brother Lampy.
Thank you, Jeff. Phi Kappa Theta actively develops men to be effective leaders who passionately serve society, fraternity, and God. That's the mission statement of the fraternity, but that's also the core reasons why we honor somebody with the Men of Achievement Award. Over the years, we've honored men from all walks of life, from religion, from business, from sports, from government. And each year when we present this award, we find the type of person who lives those values, who understands what it means to passionately serve society, fraternity, and God. In the past, as Jeff heard, one of our former Men of Achievement, Cardinal Wuerl, who is endowing a spirituality fund that is going to be a part of the foundation. And it's my honor to serve on this awards committee and to be able to present actually not the award, but somebody who I am thrilled and honored with, because I served with this man on the fraternity board. And I've served with a lot of people over the years. But this man is somebody who has always lived up to those ideals that we talked about in the mission statement of passionately serving society, fraternity, and God. And I know this is a big night for him, and I appreciate the fact that I get to introduce one of my favorite brothers in this fraternity, Brother Rick Majori.
It is indeed an honor to be up here tonight. I was looking back to 1964, and that was a good year to be a freshman at Georgia. I was one, and we had a freshman coach coming. But the football fan base was not real happy that year, and we had a new athletic director from Auburn. And he thought it was high time for a coaching change. So he makes a phone call to a young man from Auburn, and his name was Vince Dooley. And I asked Barbara if she remembered the bumper stickers running around town that year. Maybe Coach does. But the bumper sticker was Vince who? Well, Coach promptly turned a moribund football program around. We went 7-3-1 that first year. We went to the Sun Bowl, and we beat Texas Tech, and those Vince Who bumper stickers disappeared. You know, new coaches are really busy, and for a coach to devote time to other campus organizations is a big thrill. He likes to mentor people, teach the men how to be men, not just on the football field, but in campus organizations. And so he joined Phi Kappa Theta in 1966. And still, he's a busy second year coach. He comes to the house occasionally, sees the guys, see how they're doing, check their pulse, see how the grades are doing, recruiting. Talking to Delta Row here. And speaking of that, his assistant coach and a former player, Mike Cabin, spent a lot of time in Wrightsville, Georgia in 1979, speaking of recruitment. And they were courting a young man named Herschel Walker. And with the efforts of Mike Cabin and Coach Dooley, as you all know, Herschel came to Georgia and made a huge impact. But for 50 years, Coach Dooley has had an impact on Georgia, Southeastern Conference, and athletic departments all over the country. He served as our head coach from 64 to, 89, and he was athletic director from 79 to 2004 when he retired. He's got the distinction, he was the most successful coach in Georgia history, bar none. And he reached that plateau of 200 wins. Not too many coaches have that. He won a national championship in 1980. He was Coach of the Year, 1980. He had 6 Southeastern Conference champions. He was SEC Coach of the Year 6 times. And he took us to 20 bowl games, which we like. He holds the unique distinction of being inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame in 2 states, Georgia, of course, and Alabama. In '94, he was inducted into the National College Football Hall of Fame, and in '01 was named a recipient of the Amos Alonzo Stagg Award for lifetime contribution to the sport of football. And then his contributions as athletic director is phenomenal. Under his leadership, we had 20 team national championships. We had 78 Southeastern Conference team championships and many individual national champions, both men and women's sports. In 2000, he was voted by the Georgia Trend magazine as the top 100 Georgian of the century. Coach and his lovely wife, Barbara, have been married 56 years. He has 4 children. They have 4 children and still 11 grandchildren. So please welcome our brother in Phi Kappa Theta and this year's Man of Achievement Award to Coach Vince Dooley.
Thank you, Rick. You've been a loyal friend and a loyal Phi Kappa. So thanks for all you do. And when you were talking about Vince, who it reminded me, and there's nobody here that actually remembers this, except Rick, if you were in school. But Georgia had really gone through some difficult times. And of the previous 9 seasons, there were 7 losing seasons. So they hired an athletic director by the name of Joe Leaves and commissioned him to go find a coach. And then he said he was going to do a national search. Everybody got very excited. And then he said that the new coach is Vince. Well, everybody got real excited because they were thinking Vince Lombardi. So when it was announced Vince Dooley, then the more candid Georgia people said, who in the heck is Vince Dooley? Well, here are my credentials. I was a freshman coach at the time at a rival school, and I was 31 years old. Now, as an administrator, which I was for 25 years, there's no way I would have hired myself. Nothing. But the beauty of youth is that we didn't know any different. In fact, Barbara and I, at the time, look back on it now even, and realize we were the only 2 that thought it was a good hire. Nobody else did. But the way you go about gaining some credibility in coaching is to win some games. So fortunately, we did, and but it wasn't enough for Phi Kappa because they waited until the 3rd year when we finally won a championship, when I finally got an invitation to join the fraternity. And I recall very distinctly that back then we would go over to the monastery, Father Gerard is here, and down in the crypt we would have our initiation ceremony, and it was over a long weekend. And I just got back. We were over there Monday on the Feast of the Assumption, August the 15th, when Father Dom Augustine was commissioned, blessed as the new abbot. And then Archbishop Gregory performed the ceremony, and the new abbot spoke very highly of the Archbishop, but he said that we have a difference of opinion that will never be resolved, because he's from South Chicago and supports the White Sox, and the abbot's from North Chicago who supports the Cubs, and they will never resolve that conflict. I started, what's great about this is that it gave me an opportunity to sort of look around and find out a little bit more about the fraternity. And I think most all of us know that John F. Kennedy, the president, was an honorary member. I didn't know that John Paul II was a honorary member. I did not know that Bob Hope was a member. And Bob Hope was my favorite. Do you know that, Barbara? Bob Hope. That was amazing. And Frank Leahy, not Frank Leahy, Dan Devine.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, very good. That's Gator right here. We've got a very cross-section of 15 schools, as was mentioned by Jeff, 15 schools. The first people I met was the delegation from Georgia Tech. 3 of them. Where are y'all? Back in the back? Yeah, met those guys. We're all brothers except for about 3 or 4 hours on one day when we really go after each other. But thinking of Dan Devine was the coach at Notre Dame the year that we played Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl for the national championship. And I remember very distinctly that Barbara, we mentioned we've been married 56 years. I remember that when we were married 1 year, we went to her parents' silver anniversary, 25 years, and they were up there talking, and I remember whispering to Barbara, I said, can you imagine being married 25 years? 25 years. And here's 56. But I've said many times that a couple of things that enable us to do that. We both believe in basic values and both believe in prayer, but never in the same way. When I was coaching, we'd pray as a team, asking God to help us to do the best we could do, and we figured that the rest would take care of itself. Well, Barbara never believed in that. She believed in praying to win. She thought somebody on the other side would be praying. She wanted to try to trump that anyway. But anyway, the night before the game against Notre Dame, we come into this big reception that they had for the officials of Georgia and Notre Dame. So we walked in right away. Barbara spotted the very distinguished president at the time, Father Hesburgh. I mean, a great academician known nationally and internationally, and I could tell right away that Barbara saw him and had a thought. And it's been my experience, if she ever has a thought, there is no filtering of the thought. It immediately comes out, and before I could say anything, she'd already gone over to Father Hesburgh, introduced herself, and then said, well, Father, I know that you and your network throughout the country will be praying for victory for old Notre Dame. And Father Hesburgh very distinctly said, well, Barbara, my God doesn't have time for football games. And Barbara said, well, that's good because mine does. And unfortunately, he may have. I don't know. To Jeff Jowdy, who has just done an absolute, where are you, Jeff? There you are over there with Reverend. I hadn't met you yet.
We're going to meet.
Yeah, I know. I need the blessing. I do. Please, I look forward to it. Will you go with me? No.
It is Friday.
Yeah. Well, Jeff has just really done a terrific job. He and Bob Wilcox, who was, I think he may have been accredited with founding the fraternity in Athens. And Bob was early on the one that got us going over to the monastery to have our initiation. But Jeff now being the president of the foundation, that's moving up. He was president of the Grady School of Journalism, their committee over in Athens, and has done a lot of good work. And a lot of it around what you do is advising on fundraising. And fundraising is important in foundations. So great, and congratulations and thanks for all that you have done. The motto. I like the motto. I think you said you liked it. Give, underline, expecting nothing in thereof, or expecting nothing in return. And that's by St. Thomas Aquinas, I believe. That's a great motto. So I have nothing to say except thanks. I can give this little, group of advice, and I would give that to young people, but the only young ones I see are back there at Georgia Tech. Oh yeah, we got some beautiful ladies here that are young.
You're being filmed.
Yeah.
It'll be online.
Yeah, I always tell young people to prepare yourself to be lucky, to prepare yourself to take advantage of opportunity. There's sometimes a lot of drudgery that goes into work. I mean, people come and see football games and it's all look glamorous, all of them out there, but nobody realizes all the hard work that's going on right now in preparation for the season. And that's true anywhere. It takes a lot of unspectacular preparation to really get spectacular results. So it's when that preparation, and if one applies themselves to whatever job they have, and some of them may be menial and again drudgery, but if one applies any job that one has as the most important job and develops a habit of really working at it, when the opportunity comes along, it's amazing how lucky you might get when that preparation meets the opportunity. The NCAA has an honors banquet that they have every year where they recognize the top 10 scholar athletes who have done great work in athletics, in the classroom, and in the community. It used to be the top 5 and it kept growing. Now it's the top 10. At the same time, they recognize what they call the silver anniversary winners, and that is those that 25 years earlier, they were student athletes, but they have gone out into different fields and done some amazing things, very successful things. We've had a couple at Georgia. Fran Tarkenton is one who has done very, very well in business and was a great player, of course. A fellow named Tommy Lyons, that was an All-American center for me, that became a pioneer in laser surgery. Went and lectured all over the world, actually, in laser surgery. And this particular year, the spokesperson for these silver anniversary winners, there were 10 of them, was a fellow named David Bing. And there's nobody here that would ever have heard of David Bing unless you are a basketball fanatic. Well, David Bing was an All-American at Syracuse, and he was an All-Pro basketball player, and he later became the mayor of Detroit. I'm talking about taking on a challenge. But what he really did was establish a business in Chicago that was highly successful. And so being the spokesperson, I was anxious to hear what he had to say about what helped him to have this very successful business. And he said, I've got a plaque behind my desk. It's a saying that my old high school coach used to say, going all the way back to that. He said he calls it the 5 Ps. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. It's kind of a very simple but yet substance statement, and I've always thought of that. So it's when that preparation meets the opportunity that you can be really lucky, which is the case in 90% of the time. And I say that because sometimes some things just fall out of heaven, and maybe you didn't prepare quite like you should have, and it just falls in your lap, and you look up and say thanks. I know we've always had some great games with Kentucky, particularly up in Lexington. Jimmy would remember this, but we were having one tough time up there, and we were down 16-0 midway in the fourth quarter. Nothing went right. Finally, we got a break, made it 16-7, got the ball back, and made it 16-14, and then finally stopped Kentucky. And then we started a drive from about our own 12-yard line, and it was a very dramatic drive. There was about 2 minutes, 30 seconds left, and I remember listening to the tape later from Larry Munson, who was our announcer, who would drive you crazy. I'm glad I didn't have to listen to him when I was But he started counting down, 240 seconds, 230, and 38 seconds, you know. So we went all the way down the field to the 7-yard line. And with 3 seconds left, I called timeout and sent my kicker in, Rex Robinson, who was that, quote, kid out of Marietta, and to kick the field goal that would give us the victory. So when we broke the huddle, I knew we were in trouble because we only had 10 men on the field. Our right tackle was missing, which means our corner is short and they're going to block the kick. Or if they don't block it, it means we missed it. And even if we were to make it, they'd penalize us for not having enough people on the line of scrimmage. So at that moment, standing right next to me was my little tackle, Timmy Morrison. And I turned to him, put my arms around him, and I said, Timmy, what are you doing? Well, I'd heard just about all the excuses over about 18 years I was coaching then, but I wasn't ready for this. He looked down at me and he said, Coach, I'm praying, which is what he was doing. He got so caught up in the emotions of this drive, he forgot what he was supposed to do and was just praying on the sidelines. So I said, Timmy, I want you to know that Coach Fran Kersey, now he was the coach at Kentucky at the time, Coach Fran Kersey has just answered your prayers because he has just called timeout, which enables me to get your fat rear into the game, yes. So he goes into the game, we kicked a field goal, and I said, thanks, you know. So sometimes it just falls out of habit. Well, it's great to see people come from so many different places for this event tonight, and it's very special for me, and I really, really thank you, and I'm very thankful. Go Pop.